my goodness. Oh my goodness, TT.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Season 5, Episode 12 of the phenomenon known to all as Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, if you can read the ticker right by the bottom of my face, you would know who I am. And if not, I suggest you go back to school, go into your local library, find the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, and look me up under the word phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the phenomenal one, and of course I am not alone here on Saturday afternoon's main event. I am joined by my co-host, the one, the only, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun, who is not having a hard time looking these alligators down. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, for the first time in the past 2 weeks, give me 2 claps and a peep snatch.
I got to give a couple of these and then a woo. Yes, we are here. It's been a long road to get to today, but I will put it to you like this as far as the atmosphere of today's show. I'll preface it by saying this. This year, we've done 27 I Digresses. I have a feeling we're going to add to that today. Plain and simple. So for those that are wondering where the I Digresses have been, I believe we're going to make up for them today.
Oh yes, most definitely. I really do think so as well, peeps. To the fans, thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, you know where to catch us on Saturday afternoon's main event at noon. It's always on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. You know, for any other updates, any social media news, all you got to do is just follow us right there at the ticker at the bottom at Saturday afternoon's _main event and on Twitter at Saturday main. But guess what, guys? Guess what? We have a good packed show for you guys today. Trust me, we do. But we're not going to go ahead and go too crazy on the fast track because we have 2 topics for you guys today, which consists of WrestleMania and then, of course, the big news everybody's talking about this week. Vince McMahon and WWE merging with the UFC to be bought by Endeavor for $9.3 billion. Who would have thought to see the day? But, of course, aside from that, we have a huge announcement to make later on in the show about the fate of Saturday afternoon's _main event. So look, guys, we appreciate it. Stay tuned because we have a lot here for you. But without further ado, let's not waste any time here. Let's go ahead and get right into fast track, shall we?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Okay, and the only way to do it is when we hear this one theme. There we go. Okay, I'm feeling better now. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into fast track. First piece of news, WWE and the Auschwitz dilemma. Now listen. Look.
We can't start without some kind of controversy today, right? I think that's the theme of today's show, is WWE controversy and a sandwich. There you go.
There we go, peeps. There we go. Do we just say that and just end the show? Okay, guys, thank you for coming on Saturday.
Thank you for coming. See you next week.
Exactly. Like, that's all it is this week, man. That's all it is.
Sound like Tony Schiavone from the Nitro days. We're out of time. We gotta go, fans. See you next week.
Oh, man. But to go ahead and entail this whole thing, this past weekend at WrestleMania, Dominic and Rey Mysterio had their father and son battle, in which the entrances consisted of some cool entrances. I'm not going to lie to you. The entrances were cool. From the fan perspective of being there live, it was cool. But I have to say, Dominic coming out in a police cruiser, being accompanied by a couple of officers who we know might be future NXT talent, that was nice. Well, and then, of course, the mask. The mask was great, but I wasn't looking up at the video screens to notice that, Auschwitz was in the background. And if you are like me and know our history and know how Auschwitz is such a should I say, image of tragedy when it comes to, you know, our world history,
Yes.
then you wouldn't know how big this was. Cause I didn't even notice it was Auschwitz until I went back to the hotel later that night. And WWE actually apologized for it because Auschwitz went on Twitter and they were like, "Yo, listen, you know this is highly disrespectful for WWE to go ahead and use this for a match. To know what this means to our history and to go ahead and use it in this such manner is disrespectful and despicable." How does this happen, peeps? How does this happen?
This kind of thing happens when the production crew of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate doesn't do a simple Google search. That's probably what the issue is. What a lot of people don't understand, for those that really don't know, I'm pretty sure we have Jewish people that watch our show. For our Jewish friends, thank you for tuning into our show. But for those that do not know what Auschwitz is to the everyday person, this is where a lot of Jewish people were exterminated and had lots of evil, disgusting things happen to them. So for the WWE to actually do an angle where they're trying to say that Dominic Mysterio, or as they're calling him, what do they call him, Inmate Dom?
Ex-con Dom.
Ex-con Dom. And they're showing all of these different, he's a hardened criminal. Apparently he spent an hour in jail, but they're making it as if he's some sort of hardened criminal.
Listen, peeps. Let's be for real here. Prison changes a person, okay?
Oh, I stand corrected.
Let's keep it
for the entire hour. It completely changed the entire lifespan and the entire direction of Dominic Mysterio.
You know what? I should shut up. I digress.
Oh, there you go. There's number one. But in all reality, if we're going to, it's crazy that they would not do any due diligence. It reminds me of something that happened in WCW years ago, where Eric Bischoff and while he was running WCW for Monday Nitro, they actually had a wrestler who was named the Final Solution. For those that understand, for all of other Jewish people that know about that actual term, they put that name on a wrestler. And then they realized, we can't use that. For those that don't know, you can Google that expression also. But it's under the same kind of terms as how Auschwitz is in the history of the world, in that same mindset. Those are the people that were like, wow, they get away with this. People don't think sometimes when they do these kinds of things. The same way we talked about months ago with Walter having his name changed to Gunther.
I was just about to bring that up. And don't forget, Stark. Stark was the last name as well. And
who was actually a Nazi officer. So you have to be able to look these things up before this would be a pretty good. Oh, well, here's a picture of something. Well, maybe if you just did a Google search and figure out where that came from and then double check it just to be sure. And this is what the WWE did. They apologized. If you are one of those people that were really offended, they got to WWE on this one. And WWE made amends. They came up and apologized. And hopefully something like this won't happen again.
Let's hope on it, Pete. Let's hope on it.
Please, let's hope this. Let's hope in a week or 2 weeks or a month, we're not revisiting something even more offensive or just as offensive.
Not wrong on that. You were not wrong on that. Well, peeps, it's the WWE. Let's keep it a buck here.
Yeah.
Of course. But from here, we move from the world of WWE. We get right into the world of All Elite Wrestling, and we start off with this since this was highly sought out to be talked about, especially by Mr. Peeps Nate himself.
Yes.
Dante Martin's injury.
Oh yeah.
Peeps, I know how much you had to go ahead and say about this. You know what? The floor is yours. I felt like I took so much from you, like with the first one. You can go ahead and take care of this one, man.
Oh man. Okay. This was done at the Supercard of Honor, which was the Friday before WrestleMania, which is the Ring of Honor pay-per-view that they did. Yeah. It was a tag team championship match that had Top Flight. It also had the Lucha Brothers, who, by the way, won the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Congratulations to the Lucha Brothers. Yep. But there was a spot in the match, since this was an all-out tag team, ladders and destruction tables everywhere. There was a point in the match where there was a ladder bridge built, and Penta had set up the ladder was set up in the ring for the second rope to the ladder in the ring, and Penta and Dante Martin was going to do a Canadian Destroyer over the top rope through 4 tables that were set up outside the ring. First and foremost, you have to think that's a bit much, but that's the first part that goes negligible to that. The second part about this is, even if you hit the spot well, that spot for a lot of people, there are a lot of people online and friends of mine personally that are actually tired of seeing Canadian Destroyers because of the cooperation that's involved that kind of takes you away from, he had to do that for that to work? Okay, we'll put that to the side. Here's the thing that wasn't thought out. If you're going to do a Destroyer over the top rope from a ladder through tables outside the ring, you have to also take in consideration momentum and physics. Not taking into the consideration part that when you hit that move, the person that's going to take the move is going to continue to rotate. And if there is nothing to stop that momentum, a neck injury, a back injury, a shoulder injury, or in Dante Martin's case, he completely snapped his ankle. And for those that did not see the image of it, first of all, it is borderline Sid disgusting. That's like, to put it into context.
It's like this Gordon Hayward. It's like Gordon Hayward Celtics disgusting. Yes.
His leg literally snapped from, if this is his leg went like this. That's literally what it looked like. Now, I can do that because my thumbs are double jointed. The ankle is not supposed to bend this way. Not when it's coming down this way. This will give you a description. You see that? That's supposed to be the foot. That's if you're bending it normally. It's not supposed to look like that sideways. And that's literally what happened to Dante Martin. It was stupid. It lacked foresight. The spot made no sense. And what really irks me is the fact that we just had his brother who just got out of tearing his ACL well over a year ago.
Exactly.
And then came back and was in an unfortunate car accident, which took more time off from him. Now you're going to put, as far as I'm concerned, the better of the two wrestlers in Dante, because now you have the guy who had, without question, some of the best vertical leaping ability I have seen this side of Sting. And now he has a broken ankle. And apparently he's either had the surgery already or is going to have the surgery. I think he's already had the surgery is going to have the surgery. And if that's the case, we hope for a speedy recovery. The problem is that spot did not need to take place. And you just cost a wrestler who had the star power and the leaping ability of Dante Martin to sacrifice his ankle for a spot that did not need to take place. And now we don't know if this has permanently altered his career, because there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to springboard and do all of the crazy leaps and jumps that he was doing prior. And that's what scares me. So you keep your fingers crossed, you hope for the best, and you please, if you're going to start booking these kinds of spots, think beforehand. It's not necessary, it's not needed, and it's costing a lot of wrestlers a lot of injuries.
Somebody has to talk to Tony, because I mean, all these different spots and all these matches that are unnecessary to the T. Like, I mean, you know what?
Like I said, just to keep it in mind, for those that don't realize how severe the injury was, you type in on YouTube or whatever, just go WCW Sin, and you see what happened to Sid Vicious's ankle in his match with Scott Steiner, and see what happened to his leg. That's basically what happened to Dante Martin.
Well, all hopes for the best on Dante Martin.
Oh yeah, that was hard to watch.
Jesus, because you sent me the link to it. Oh man, Lord
yes, it was disgusting. And the link was only a 23-second video, but that's all you needed. You didn't need anything afterwards. You didn't need anything before.
It's almost like they took air out the arena. They took air out the arena the minute it happened. Peeps, I'm looking at it from fan perspectives on social media, and it's just like, talking to other people that were there, it was just like, yo, what the heck, this happened? Like, like this actually happened. Like, like I was literally front row for this, like, seeing Dante just go ahead and like, I was, Peeps.
Oh, Jim Cornette ripped the whole thing apart.
I mean, of course,
and he should have, as he did,
as needed.
Yes,
as needed. I don't blame him one bit. As needed. Oh man. Well, from that, we go into the next topic in the world of AEW. They got Jay White, Nigel McGuinness, and on top of that, peeps, they said they weren't done. They got two of Europe's, or should I say Britain's, best professional wrestlers. And they said, Britain, I'm not done. This August, AEW All In, not All Out, All In, will be emanating from Wembley Stadium in London, England, celebrating 100 years of Wembley and 100 years of Warner Brothers. AEW is capitalizing like this. Let me tell you something, peeps. Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
In my eyes, Vincent Kennedy McMahon is a dummy. Yeah.
I got to get the dummy button and bring that on the show.
We have to. But peeps, how do you lose out on Jay White and you let AEW pull the Neil Armstrong by planting the flag on Wembley 30 years after you had your event there, and people have been waiting and waiting for you to return?
Yes.
How do you let that happen? How does that go into fruition? I don't understand it. You were telling me you were focused so much on Endeavor being your new shareholder that you couldn't go ahead and move Clash at the Castle from, where was it? Where was it exactly?
It was in Wales.
In
Cardiff.
You couldn't move it from Cardiff to Wembley. And now, with AEW probably going into one of those environments where they have fans, because if I remember correctly, AEW's viewership and key demographic on an 1845 in England is about 210 per every other week. Peeps, that is good.
Yes.
For them, that is good. So it's not like they don't have fans. They do. And now, literally just for the sign up on pre-sale, they did 25,000 first day.
Yes.
Peeps, what the heck is happening? What is happening?
I could tell you. Part of it is going to be what we're going to get into later on in the show.
Oh yes.
That aside, I'm not going to even touch that. That I'm going to save my vitriol for that segment of the show. And if you people are waiting for a rant, you're going to hear a good one. I'm going to table that one and leave that to the side. So for that reason is probably why Jay White decided to go to AEW over the WWE. First of all, he has familiarity with AEW. He's been there before. There was that working agreement between New Japan when he was New Japan World Champion over there. And everything else, during the Forbidden Door and then all of the exchanges back and forth with the Bullet Club and AEW and Kenny Omega and all that. So he is familiar with Tony Khan and the workings of AEW and is probably comfortable with the setup there, comfortable with the booking, comfortable with the talent that's there, potentially storylines that they can come up with there. I think that's part of it. And the other thing is to see Nigel McGuinness, who is Ring of Honor through and through. First of all, it was a crime when he was gone from NXT.
Yes.
I watched a lot of Nigel McGuinness when he was in Ring of Honor, and especially when he was in NXT as an announcer. And the fact that when he was gone, between him and Mauro Ranallo as an announce group was absolutely brilliant for me. So that is definitely missed of the old black and gold. But I'm going to move on to where we are now. To see Nigel McGuinness here in AEW / Ring of Honor / Warner Brothers / whatever company name you want to give it is beautiful. And to know that you have that kind of talent on the roster, both in the ring and in an interview, microphone, color commentary sort of way, further bolsters Ring of Honor and it's more of the credibility as it grows. But to get back to what the main part of this topic is for Wembley Stadium, which can seat over 90, I believe it's at 93 or 94,000 fans. If you can squeeze that amount, you just said 25,000 in less than a day or two of tickets sold for people that want to get in here. We have to understand the European fan, especially the British European fan in the UK, they love American wrestling because it doesn't happen too often. There are a lot of independent promotions that are sprinkled around in England and British wrestling in the Commonwealth and in Wales and in New Zealand and certain areas of the UK. So they just love wrestling. When the WWE comes, instant sellout.
Oh yeah.
Impact, I believe, has been in England a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken, and they do pretty well with them when they did go over there once upon a time. But for AEW, which for those that don't understand how big this is, Tony Khan's father, Shad Khan, owns the building. Think about that. Shad Khan actually owns Wembley Stadium and Manchester United. And knowing that that money coming in will just breed more fan interest for a product that they are really, really starved for. And to know that they're going to bring all of AEW over and do a show on a Sunday, August 27th, which is
not a Saturday,
huge wrestling boom.
Oh man,
you're looking at a huge. I'll tell you right now, the minimum that they do, I think, is 80,000. I think they can easily get 75 to 80,000. I don't know if they'll get a sellout, but considering how big the stadium is and all the talent that AEW has, if this is done right and they book the right storylines going into that show,
oh man,
icing on the cake.
You know what? You're most definitely right, peeps. You are most definitely right. And for me, it's just shocking just to think, wow, money can buy a lot these days.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, it's a thing. Wembley, AEW, all in.
Yes.
After 30 years of wrestling not being at Wembley, you know what? Let me calm myself down because we have to go ahead and get into the next topic, you know. But ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of Fast Track. Of course, you know, if you want to go ahead and keep up with any of the other social media news that we're going to be going ahead and putting out, all you have to do is just one thing. Follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons _main event or on Twitter at Saturday Main, and you will be able to be accessible to all the news and social media updates that we give out during the week. So, without further ado, let's get right into the news. WrestleMania was truly memorable. And I say this like this, peeps. You know, for my first in-person Mania, I have to say, the experience was worthwhile.
Yes.
I consider it like a kid waking up on his first Christmas.
Yes.
You know, like people religiously making their pilgrimage to their homeland for a holy week in some type of sense.
Yes.
It's
a wrestling fast, if you will.
Of course, yes, most definitely. Yes. You got it spot on. It was amazing. It was amazing being able to go to the show, being able to hit up, you know, what they now called just a superstore, the fan experience for access, and being able to see the Hall of Fame and see Ray go in and see fans go ahead and just get happy just because they see Stacy Keibler. And thank God she didn't go ahead and mention, any of the testicles that were out there just to be his fans.
Yeah, that
thank
would have
God.
been interesting.
Would have been an interesting sight to see. But everything about it was amazing. Everything about it was amazing. Night 1 outperformed night 2. Point blank period. And I know you agree with me, peeps.
You think?
But you see, look, night 2 was great as well. What killed me, though, was the final match of the night. Ain't no way in hell. You gonna tell me, the average wrestling fan, if you were to tell me last year when Cody Rhodes tore his pectoral muscle and wrestled that match at Hell in a Cell against Seth Rollins and performed for almost 30 minutes. You remember what I told you the week after, right? It's over. Cody Rhodes is going to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. Did it happen? No. Why? I don't know. I'm pissed. I know the people are pissed. I know you were somewhat pissed, but I had to sit there and I had to let it resonate for a quick second, because the next thing that I told myself was, you know what? Peeps was right. He told me exactly, look, Rich, there is a 95% chance that Cody will go into SoFi Stadium and he will come out of SoFi Stadium as champion. But don't go ahead and doubt that 5%. And you know what the Phenomenal One did, ladies and gentlemen? That whole weekend, being the fan that I was living in La La Land, I doubted that 5%. But we're not gonna get to that match yet. We're gonna let it sit. We're gonna let it resonate for a quick second.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and just go back to night 1. Okay? Peeps, we're not gonna go ahead and cover all the matches. Probably one in the one at the beginning, one in the middle, and probably the one towards the end. Peeps, first and foremost, Theory, Cena.
Yes.
Wow.
I was pleasantly surprised. It was about as close as you can get to a squash match for Cena. And as we talked about prior to WrestleMania, that the way that it was built, especially the really harsh John Cena promo that he cut on Raw, nobody cares about you, you're boring, etc., etc., etc. That was done knowing that he would go over on Cena and that it would make him look that much stronger, because although Cena has played the politician in the back over the years, the one thing that he will do is he will give back to the business by putting somebody over. And that's what he did with Roman Reigns. He did that with Bray Wyatt. And he's now done this with yours truly, Mr. Austin Theory. Which now I'm glad it's no longer just Theory. But
Amen.
Mind you, Austin Theory was the pet project of Vince McMahon. And to see him get that push after the tumultuous way he had that Money in the Bank briefcase, which almost became an albatross around his neck, where he couldn't, you knew at some point he was going to cash it in, but we didn't know how. And if it was any other year or any other era, he would have cashed that in and he would have one of those championships. But he just so happened to have that Money in the Bank briefcase during the trip to the Island of Relevancy. And apparently nobody leaves the Island of Relevancy as long as Roman Reigns is the champ. As I said, table that.
He did leave. I mean, Peeps, he did leave. He did
leave, but he has not returned. It's like a big black hole. You go in, light goes in, it never comes out.
I mean,
And that's literally what had happened.
If anything, he did leave. It's just that he got booted out by Tyson Fury and Brock Lesnar, 2 different occasions.
Yeah.
You have to give him that.
But that was the match. I actually liked the match, and the way that it was presented and the way that it went was kind of what we expected to some degree.
You know what we got, peeps? You know what we got in sort of a sense? Holyfield Tyson. That's what we got.
Good point. That's a good analogy.
Listen, Theory was biting the man's ear for God's sakes.
And he went and snacked on him. Yeah. Oh, and it also showed a level of aggression and fearsomeness that they've been trying to put that edge on Austin Theory that he couldn't get from any other opponent, except if it was somebody of the caliber of Cena. And it worked because he showed he will do anything that it takes to win. It's believable that he would do anything it took to win. But it didn't look cheap. It didn't look like it just came out of nowhere. Oh, he cheated. He pulled out brass knucks. He did. No, it was decisive. It was vicious. And it was somewhat quick. And I think that worked in the favor of Theory, because that is what you're trying to do to build him up. And if you're going to build him in that way where he is going to be, if Roman is your top heel, then he's going to be heel B as opposed to heel A. So he's going to be B or C in the hierarchy of how you're going to process your heels in the card. Is he your mid-card heel before he becomes eventually a main event heel? I think this is what they've been trying to do, and this is the way that they did it, and it worked.
Of course. From there, like we said, Mysterio, Dom. Beeps, yes. Listen. I almost, I kind of missed half the match due to the fact of being in long line concessions. But I did end up having to go ahead and sit there, while being in concessions, to go ahead and watch the full-on show on Peacock. And, listen, from what I can tell you, from the entrances to the story being driven in the match itself.
Yes.
From Dominic going ahead and taking that cup of water and splashing it in Aaliyah's face, to Ray getting the belt and finally whooping his son, and like he said that he would have done back when WWE 13 was around as a video game, to Dominic going ahead and seeming like he almost had the upper hand and then grabbing the chains and Bad Bunny coming out of nowhere and swiping it from him, which led to the ending of the match. Peeps, that match was great.
Yes, and it was great because of the story that was crafted, like you just pointed out. I think that this is as much of a rap that we give sports entertainment. There is a place for it. This match was the complete definition of sports entertainment. Obviously, Rey Mysterio and Dominic they weren't going to give you Steamboat and Flair. That's not what you're expecting out of it. Of course. But what you were expecting was a story-driven narrative as the match went on. And the way that they built, especially from the week prior, with it built up to Dominic. And as you had predicted, something had to happen with Dominic's family. There had to be an interaction with the sister or with the mother or something along those lines to finally draw Ray into the match, and then to finally strike his son and say, you know what, this match is here. So there you go in that match, which I thought was the funniest part, was when he finally was able to get a belt and literally whip his son in the corner.
The crowd cheering that loud was just...
Yes. And as a West Indian friend of mine used to give him licks, give him good licks, licks on him backside, so. And that's literally what he did. Gave him a beating in front of all 80,000 people that were in attendance, and the fans lost their minds. And I think when you can get the fans to live cathartically through the characters in the ring, now you were there. So I have to actually defer to you as far as how it came across live. How actually were the fans when that happened?
Now look. The whole time during Dom's entrance, the minute he came out and you saw the mask on him, I can hear it from outside because I'm like the concessions that I was at is like with the way that SoFi is built, you kind of have like those club level suites that are like literally on field, and you got the
Okay.
concessions that are inside there. So I'm inside those concessions, and right on top of me are the 100 level, and right beside me are the risers. Peeps, the walls are so thick at SoFi Stadium, so you're not able to hear a damn thing. I was able to hear them boo. I
Wow.
thought it was the speakers from my phone. Instead, no. I turned off the phone. I hear the boos from outside. I'm just like, wow, this is something. This is something.
Yes.
To hear the fans like that, that was a first timer for me. But
Yes.
I came out right after the belt thing happened, but of course I was watching it. So peeps, to sit there and see him get the belt, I'm sitting there like, oh shoot, it's going to happen. And
Yes.
then the crowd begins to erupt. And you begin to kind of, because for me, hearing them and you kind of feeling the energy, you're starting to get goosebumps. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, this is what we're doing. And it's like, of course, I can hear them cheer before because, on Peacock, it's kind of a little delayed from what you're seeing at the stadium. It's like, about like 10, 15 seconds. Peeps. I hear him cheering. I'm just like, he's hitting with well, he has to be. And the minute I see it on the phone, I'm just like, yes, you do it.
Yes.
Yeah, you go ahead. Yes. And
Yes.
Michael Cole, for God.
He helped sell the angle because his anger, being a parent and knowing that this disrespectful person is doing this to his father and he's finally getting his comeuppance, beat him like you should have beat him years ago. Beat him. I'm like, wow. And it was insane. And to hear the crowd along with for all of the nonsense that Michael Cole got over the years of being a horrible play-by-play guy. First of all, Michael Cole is great. Amazing. Michael Cole had to be saddled with Vince McMahon sitting on his chest while he did everything. When you didn't have that on him, he's able to be free and be emotional and connect the humanity of him being a parent with what was going on in the feud. And in a lot of instances, he sounded like old school JR. The emotion that he put in his voice and to be able to convey that on the show, it made the moment really good. And it's weird. It's hard. We're talking about somebody getting whipped with a belt as being a great moment, but that's literally what it was at WrestleMania. So
explain it exactly.
Yes,
great analogy there by going ahead and saying that Cole was literally like JR. Because for me, seeing Michael Cole like that enthusiastic for only that one match of the show,
yes,
it was kind of like listening to JR go ahead and hit the why Triple H, you SOB, why damn it, why? That's what it felt like. That's literally what it felt like.
Yes,
and practically hearing him the next day. And he's still going on. I'm like, the man's not losing his voice. This is something else.
I was expecting him to be done. Like, well, all right, I'm Michael Cole. Welcome to St. Magnet. Take it away. That's what I was expecting to hear out of him. And he literally came out and he sounded. You know what he sounded? He sounded the way he sounded when he did SmackDown. And I was like, wow, he must really be training and making sure he's drinking a lot of hot tea and liquids and honey and lemon and making sure that he's doing wah, wah, wah and all of that stuff to make sure that the muscles and the vocal cords are limber. Because night one, as good as night one was, you knew that there was so much more for night two. He had to have fuel for those next few hours.
I mean, of course. I mean, listen, I already lost my voice by night one. Let's be for real here, Pete. That's what I'm saying. I didn't know how Michael Cole did it, but listen, Michael Cole is a martyr, revered by many.
Yes.
Next match, Ripley Flair. My show stealer. This was my show stealer.
Okay.
Everything from beginning to end. Amazing.
Yes.
Steve, what did you think?
First and foremost, this was the match that we both predicted would be the main event of night one. Mm-hmm. And if you were to tell me that it was and it happened, do you think we would have been disappointed? Hell no. Because now you have to top that match. That was, without question, one of the best, forget about best women's matches in WrestleMania. That was one of the best matches in WrestleMania history. The match had drama, it had pacing, it had fan participation, and even with the facial expressions between both, which helped sell the match, and the near falls, and the pacing, and the awareness of where they are in the ring towards the ropes and how to get the fans in,
Yes.
and then bring it back down. Here's a rest hold to kind of bring the fans down. Oh, here we bring them back up again. Charlotte's going to go to the top rope and do that corkscrew moonsault acai DDT off the top rope. Oh, and there we go. And then we're going to go outside again. And then Rhea's going to come in and then she's going to taunt the fans. And the entire match was an emotional seesaw back and forth that had everything that you love about a championship match of a wrestler that is trying to show why she's still the best, and the up and coming young whippersnapper, and coming in and saying, I'm staking my claim today. The same way you made the analogy about Neil Armstrong planting the flag, that's what Rhea Ripley did by planting the flag not only in WrestleMania, but also on the SmackDown Women's Championship, because that was, without question, one of the best WrestleMania matches. I'm not going to quantify it by saying, oh, best women's match, because that goes without saying. This was one of the best WrestleMania matches I've ever seen. And there's like one other match on the card that to me was even better than this. And that happened on night 2, which we're going to get to later.
I know what you're talking about. You ain't got to tell
Yes.
me twice, please. From there, main event. The Usos versus KO and Sami Zayn for the undisputed tag team titles. Peeps, hear me out. I felt like the first half, the first 5 to 10 minutes, it started off slow. I'll give it that. But suddenly it started to pick up momentum. And the minute the near fall swoops of a second that it began to pick up momentum, they were off to the races. Peeps, the near falls, the storytelling within that. And for me, the ending was just 10 times greater.
Yes.
I mean, peeps, to sit there and to see Sami Zayn go for one haluva kick after being tagged in, go for a second one. And what made it so great, because of course, on TV, you saw him kind of pausing. And it was kind of like, okay, like you're anticipating this. From where I'm sitting, ringside, I'm looking at it like, oh gosh. And you begin to feel the energy once again rise. Of course, it began to rise every single time they were kicking out, but this was different because now you felt it was going to end here. And we weren't wrong. So after one haluva kick, everybody's happy. Then you see Jay go ahead and fall into Sammy's arms as if it was War Games, Survivor Series, and KO going ahead and doing the same thing.
Yes.
Sammy goes ahead and puts him back into the turnbuckle, goes back to the other end, a second haluva kick. And at this point, Jimmy tries to come in. KO comes in at the same time. Stunner. Sammy sees it as an opportunity to go for a third one, pushes him back, goes back to the other end. Kind of goes ahead and paces his hair, looks straight at Jay. And I am just in my seat like, oh, shoot, it's going to happen. It is going to happen. And the minute Sammy began running, I said to myself, this has been an amazing show. And bam, right in the kisser, haluva kick for the third time, goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3, and we had new Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Beeps, what did you think of that match overall?
Without question, as we talked about a couple of weeks back, we also talked about if they're going to try to send the fans happy, then this would be the main event of the first night. And that's the route that they went. So they had the Bloodline storyline bookend both days of WrestleMania. This was the first bookend. And as you've heard me talk about before, the best way to craft a story always has 3 acts. You have the beginning, which sets up the characters and sets up the motivation, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have the body of the story, where all of the machinations are going and where it's leading to. And then you have the third act, which usually will conclude and bring everything to a focus, bring everything to a conclusion, And usually, if you do it right, you have a satisfactory conclusion where everybody is happy. And the best way that I can describe it, the emotion that I can describe is a bubbling, tickling explosion of joy. Because the way that the match ended, the facial expressions, the the meta emotions in between moves and in between matches and reasonings between certain things. And then you could see Sammy was kind of regretful that he had to do what he had to do because he knew he wants to end the bloodline and win the tag titles, but Jay is his friend, or so he thought. And then he's reminded of all of the stuff that the Usos did to him and how he was treated like a dog and Roman Reigns only used him and and then you can see in each of those haluva kicks, when he set him up, bang, that's the first one. Second one sets him up. And you can see as each haluva kick goes in, there's more emotion to each one he sets up. Bang, there's the second one. The third one set up after the stunner. Gets him up. He props him up, holds his face, looks at him, shoves him in the corner, runs into the corner. He slows down. He sizes him up. He looks at him almost like an admiral looking through the periscope of a submarine trying to sink a ship. And all of a sudden, boop, 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 bang, there's the third haluva kick. 1, 2, 3. And then the building lost its ever-loving mind.
Oh, yes.
And that is what you want to have as the end of any show like this. And the night, if they would have said that was the end of WrestleMania, it would have been looked at as probably the best WrestleMania in the history of WrestleManias. Oh, yeah. Just from the way it was booked. It didn't feel like any match on the card didn't fit on night one. And we're saying, well, night one is going to, if this is night one, oh, hell, I can't wait until night two. Woo, boy, was I wrong. And we're going to get into that also. But
of course,
just for brevity, I really enjoyed night one. I loved the match. The match had everything that you needed. It had drama. It had reasoning. It had pacing. The plot worked. The in-ring wrestling was good, which obviously brings everything together. But then you also had a finish that the fans loved because they were happy and jubilant, and they get to go home and be ebullient and be really, really happy. And that's exactly what they did at the end of this whole show.
Of course, exactly.
Night two.
You know what? Let me just put this out as a disclaimer because we're only gonna probably talk about like 3 matches for night two. So look, let's put it this way. Okay. Women's showcase match. All right. Yeah. It happened. Yeah. What? You know. Shane McMahon tour squad.
That was hilarious. I'm sorry. He got the Kevin Nash, Vince McMahon, Triple H Memorial Quad Award, and literally he is in a unique class of people that tore their quads, literally doing nothing.
Nothing.
This isn't like he got put in a figure 4. This isn't like Shane tried to do a moonsault. He tore his quad doing a leapfrog.
I don't know how pissed. Listen, I don't know how pissed it came off to the people on TV, but being in the arena for look, here's what happens. The minute Shane goes for the leapfrog, and you see Miz hit the ropes on the other end, and we see Shane kind of fall, and we're like, oh gosh, he kind of missed the landing or whatever. He kind of botched it. And we see him trying to get back up, and he just falls flat to the ground.
Yeah. The camera picked that up.
We all started booing. We were just like, bro, how do you get injured, bro? Like, how do you get injured? What the heck happened? And we thought he broke his ankle or something, so we just like, ah, damn. Literally, it wasn't until I got back and I saw the text that said, oh, he tore his quad. And I'm like, of course. Of course it would be on WrestleMania. And the funniest thing is that literally a good 2 hours before that, we saw Linda McMahon literally in both sections. And we're like,
wow.
Linda? At WrestleMania?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, something has to be happening because ain't no way Linda literally just shows up to WrestleMania.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah, she's a shareholder, but like what is she here for? And of course,
Yeah.
when we saw Shan, we were like, okay, there we go. That makes sense.
What
And then
she was gonna donate her quad to her son? I mean, last time I checked, I didn't think you could do that. But
I
I
don't think you
digress.
can, but I
There we go.
second one of the
Yeah, I told you we're gonna have some. So
oh
there you
man,
go.
oh man. But yeah, so yeah, Shane towards quad, and then we began booing again because somehow, some way, Finn had a crazy gash in his head at Hell in a Cell, which
Yes.
that is the first match we will be talking about. But that match going in, the entrances were great.
Yes.
Seeing the Cell back in its regular form and not no red crate. Although I
Yeah.
know that you love the Cell sometimes, Peeps, because red was your
Yes.
favorite color. But
Yes.
and it seemed like from my end, although I've never seen a Cell in person, it seemed like the Cell got smaller. I don't know if it was probably just me, but when Finn did that one spot, and he kind of went up to the Cell and did the coup de grace, or attempted to do the coup de grace on edge, on the table. I looked
Yeah.
at it and I was just like, Finn's not that tall. How is the roof of the Cell that close to his head? This doesn't make any sense right now. And
Mhm.
I was just like, okay, so the Cell got small, but I didn't care. The match was still
Yeah.
good. But
Yes.
when that happened, when Finn got busted open, and I know you probably went on social media after you saw the scar to his head.
Oh yeah.
Peeps, and we saw the minute I saw blood on the mat, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh.
I knew he got hurt because after Edge threw the ladder and it hit him, the camera did a faraway shot when he got hit, and then when they pulled away, you just saw in the corner of the mat, it was just blood everywhere. I was like, whoa, he must have. The first thing that I'm thinking of, they're not going to allow him to blade in WrestleMania. And then when I saw the referee come out with the gloves and check him, and then what they did is after he got hit, they took the camera and they focused it on Edge. And what they did is, knowing that they had to kind of stop the match, they could have done what they did with Edge. He's walking around looking for weapons under the ring. He's looking for the steps. He's looking for the kendo sticks. And it was a good thing that they did. But Jim Cornette brought up something really interesting that they could have done that would have actually added to this so that the fans would think that this was really, really dangerous. And his thought process was, after that cut, after he got hit, the referee is checking on Finn, looks at the cut, and then he makes an announcement. He tells the ring announcer, to the people, the way I tell you this. Tell them that due to this enormous deep gash in the head of Finn Balor, the match may potentially end because he won't be able to continue, et cetera, which will get the fans to boo the decision. And then after they stitched him up, Finn gets up. He grabs the referee I'm not stopping this match for anything. Go back to the ring announcer. Well, are you sure? Are you sure? Not stopping the match. And then go ahead and say, well, even though he's been warned by doctors that he can risk serious injury, et cetera, the match will continue. That would have broadened in even more so, while Edge is looking around for weapons, et cetera.
Now, you see,
that's Jim Cornette.
That's the one thing that didn't come off on TV to you guys. For us,
yeah,
we got that. Because from the body language, you can already tell. So as Edge is around the ring and they're pacing and the camera's only on Edge, all the refs, all the medical team, they're around Finn. Finn's at the apron and they're trying to go ahead and look at and the ref is like, listen, from the body language and how he's saying, he's like, look, I'm going to have to stop it. The gash is too.
Yes.
Finn, being Finn, we saw the look on Finn's face. Finn grabs the ref by the collar and he's like, nah. Like, he's just literally saying no. He's like, I'm going to finish it. Don't worry about it. I'm going to finish it. And he finished it.
That part get on camera, because I did see him grab the referee, and he said something. And then they just said, we'll continue the match. So, yeah.
And I mean, Finn has heart. Finn has
heart.
Because I'll be damned. If that 14 staples to your head, if that
well, he has to have heart, because it looks like he had his heart painted on his body with the rest of the paint that he had on him, But yeah.
That too. That match, hellacious as it was, I felt like it was a good ending to the feud.
Yes, and it was violent, and it had everything you were looking for. Look,
seeing blood in a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania, peeps. Listen, a 20-year-old me or a little me could have asked for any more. I was okay. I was okay with that.
Yes.
Second match you can totally look at. Triple threat Intercontinental title match. Peeps, I looked at it this way. 3 grown men with all the slapping, the chops, the power peeps. As I already told you, I lost my voice from night 1. And it was so funny because I tried to go, like, of course, when you enter an arena for a WWE show, you literally have a bunch of fans going ahead and hitting woos. Yes. I could have hit the woo, I couldn't do it. And I tried it once, and it came out so bad. And my uncle's right next to me like, dang, man, you just went ahead and killed the rod. I couldn't do it. Peeps, I forced myself to woo for those chops, and I did it just once. I enjoyed that. If anything, that was the best match from night 2. Although the main event was amazing, that, as shocked as I was, because I thought Sheamus was going over. Can't always wish for everything, right? But that was okay though. That was okay because Walter coming out, the victor, I think that was right. But the match itself, chef's kiss. What were your thoughts?
As I stated, I gave this little bit of a tease about 15 minutes ago. This was, for me, my favorite match of the entire card because it was 25 minutes of extreme meat slapping, beating people up. It was physical. It had strong style. It had King's Road. It had some technical wrestling in there, so you could throw in a little bit of World of Sport kind of counters and counteractions and a lot of moves in between, et cetera, et cetera. So there were a lot of things that were going on there. But the physicality of the match, the only thing that was missing from this was old school Jim Ross calling this match, because they literally, and I mean literally, beat the flesh off of each other. By the time the match went into 10 minutes, all 3 men had no nipples. They had no flesh on their chests. They had welts on their backs. They had welts on their arms. I'm shocked that they weren't coughing up blood by the end of the match. They were literally beating themselves to death. To a pulp. Yes. And it's just, this is not hyperbole. This was literally the most physical match that took place without weapons, without tables, without all of the other stuff. This was as physical a match as you can get. From the shotgun drop kick that Walter did to Sheamus in the corner, and then he came out of the corner and he caught him with the clothesline, and then they go back and forth and they go through the ropes and they come back. They literally beat each other up.
Yes.
Like somebody stole their lunch money for 25 minutes. And it was without question the only match of the show that I said fight forever in the match, because it was just so physical. And you've heard me say this before, that usually triple threat matches are lazy booking. Because I said this when they first announced that this was going to be a triple threat. I said it's lazy booking. It should be a one-on-one match between Sheamus and Walter. And that's what it should be. I'm not going to complain, because what we got was an absolute treat. As a matter of fact, when we're finished doing this show, I'm going to go back and watch that match again.
Oh, yeah.
That's how good that match was.
What was great about it is the moment that we got when the cameras were off. So when they show Walter at the stage holding the title, whatever the case may be, and they go to that little break, what we saw inside the stadium in the middle of that ring was Drew and Sheamus hugging it out.
Wow.
I was that almost brought tears to my eyes, because I was just like, man, that was heartfelt. That was heartfelt.
Yes.
To know how much those guys have been through, and to know that they just really had that good of a WrestleMania match.
Yes.
In front of 80,000 people. Listen, that for me, I was just like, okay, as much storyline wise, you guys are not cool together, but the fact that y'all just hugged it out, it was just like, right on, I'll take it. Yes. Right on, I'll take it. But yes, that match, great. But now we come to this, okay? So look, I'm not going to go ahead and say anything about this match right now. I'm just going to let the video do the talking for us, okay? Just please, y'all do what y'all have to do. Just look at it.
I told you 2 months ago what you said prior, and I said, for most of us, we would have loved to have Cody win that match because that was what was going to end the story. But I also said 5% chance. And I remember a friend of mine that actually watches our show, and I told him that, and he's like, I hate you. Because now from here until WrestleMania, I got to think about that 5% you just threw in my head that I was not thinking about before. And lo and behold, when it happened, I looked at it, and although I was upset, I almost wasn't shocked because I really figured it's like, of course it would. Of course it would happen. You would build up this long and story, this long overarching story that had one result, and that result was supposed to be Cody standing on the top rope holding the championship with his child, with his wife and other family members.
That's what
coming in the ring.
That's what killed me, peeps, because the fact that he came in to SoFi, wing-ridden angel,
yes,
delivers the belt to Brody Lee Jr. How do you do? Yes. Right dead smack ringside, hugs his daughter, kisses his wife. You had the man walking out there as if he was the president of the United States. How do you have him lose the match in that fashion?
Oh yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, peeps, look,
it's crazy. Yeah.
You know, a lot of me was telling me it was gonna happen because, in this sense, when the Usos came out, I was like, look, okay, there can be that chance that it's gonna happen, but then I remembered that I told you one time, look, my theory is that if the Usos come out, there goes KO and Sammy as well. And then when they came out, I was just like, you know, my prediction is coming true. This is gonna happen. You know, if they're there, you know, that does it. You know, I'm gonna be perfectly fine. You know, then you know Cody can go ahead and get right into it. And the minute Cody begins going ahead and doing the bionic elbow, and then he starts going for the crossroads, peeps.
Yes.
My heart was at its peak. I said, okay, you know what? Solo was kicked out from ringside. KO and Sammy just took care of the Usos. And now Roman has nobody. Naomi is not with the company no more, so you can't have no female figure. It's not like the Walrus himself, Paul Heyman, can do anything. So Roman is on his own for real, and Cody's going to do it. When Cody hit that second crossroads, my heart was hitting good peak. The look on my uncle's face right next to me said, "Oh wow, Cody's going to win." We were both happy in some sense, well, some way, shape, or form. We were happy. And then I see the silhouette of Solo coming down the ringside, runs in the ring from my perspective, and just Samoan spikes Cody, and I said, wow. I kept my mouth shut for a good 10 minutes at that. Because the minute Solo did that, and I see Roman hit the spear, the whole time holding that phone, my mouth is just like, in my head's just saying,
yes,
these SOBs really just did this to me. They just did this to me. And you know, the swerve of the century.
Yes.
Steph had the heist, we had the swerve. The fact that Roman literally pinned him and we hit that 3 count. The look of everybody else around that stage. I saw fans in the 100 level going ahead and just trying to rip out the seat at SoFi. I saw like little boys just, I look at Cody in the distance. Some fan literally threw like one of those little like vinyl toy chickens, like the real.
Oh yes, that's right. There was a toy. There was a rubber chicken that was thrown in the ring when the match was over. Yeah,
they were literally 3 rows up from us. The man just screamed out. The man just screamed out, "F you, Roman!" And he just kicked the thing at the ring. At that moment, I said, "Oh gosh, this is gonna be WCW Bash at the Beach." No, this is not how. Because the minute I saw it, I was like, "Okay, yeah, fans are gonna start throwing their drinks or something. Like this is not it. We're about to riot in LA. This is gonna be worse than the one in '93, guys. I don't want part of this." Peace. The energy after that match, as much as everybody was, some people were in tune because people said, "Okay, listen, Roman's gonna win." Others said, "No, it's not gonna happen," but it happened. But, Peeps, you talked to me about this thought of a storyline, and I want you to go ahead and give insight to this because right after this, we're gonna go into our questions and we're gonna go into the last part of the show, and we'll take it. But give us your thoughts on what's gonna happen because I literally sat there and I said to myself, "Peeps is on about something," because that makes sense.
Okay. Now, this idea came to me as what happened after Raw. If we remember, as we all saw what happened the night after WrestleMania, there was a clip after what happened to Cody happened. There was a fan that was caught in that clip that said, "Triple H remembers, Triple H never forgets." And it started to make me think, this is probably the reason why I put that 5% chance in the back of my head that Roman would retain. And this is kind of the storyline thought process that I thought of literally as it happened as far as what can happen. It can be fine-tuned here and there, but this is my thought process. The mindset is we saw, fast forwarding to Monday night, Triple H coming out, and what Vince McMahon would usually do is he would thank all of the fans of the WWE universe and thank you for coming out here and we love you fans and thank you, we do this all for you, et cetera, et cetera. But it wasn't him, it was Triple H. So with the game saying the same thing to all the fans.
In the middle of the ring.
Exactly. And thanking the fans and doing the same thing and we're going to be doing this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, fine. And then at the beginning of Raw, we had the Bloodline and Roman, and everybody's talking. Well, not all of the Bloodline. It was mostly Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman and Roman. And then you also now have Cody coming in. And of course, Cody's going to want a rematch. Oh, if you want a rematch, no. But if you want to have a tag match, we can have a tag match. Here's the issue. You can have a tag match. You're going to actually bring in somebody in the back that if they decide to want to get a title match with Roman, can never get a shot as long as Roman is the champ. Made sense. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. And they bring out Brock Lesnar, who no one was thinking about.
Nobody.
Brock shows up. He's all buddy-buddy with Cody. Everything is cool. Blah, 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 blah.
Which was shocking to me.
And that was the thing that really got me was the fact that I was like, wow, I didn't see this coming at all. He literally outsmarted the wise man. And in the way that was, I thought about that. Okay, I'm not going to dump on what happened with all of Raw. That's a different discussion. Just specifically on this part of it. When the match did actually happen, or was supposed to happen, first thing that happens is they get in the ring, they do the introductions, they ring the bell. Cody's like, yeah, let's do this. And then Brock F5s Cody. And then he F5s him again. And then he throws him out of the ring. And then he F5s him on the table. And then he throws him into the railing. And then he throws him into the steps. And then he F5s him on the floor. And then he throws him back in the ring. And then he F5s him again. And then he grabs a chair and beats him senseless. This beating went on for 10 minutes. And you're going to tell me that of all the stuff that's going on, for all of the friendships that Cody supposedly has bonded with, especially with the tag team champions who were there, nobody came to help him. So here's the thought process, is that this whole thing happened with Cody because of Triple H, if this is where they should be going. And that comment that was made after the beating took place, because the last big thing that happened was Cody got F5'd on the steel steps. And that was it. And Cody is, without question, one of the best sellers out there. He's like Ricky Morton level of sale, Ricky Steamboat level of sell. Barry Windham level of sell. He can literally sell anything. And what happens is in that whole framework, the thought process is if you're going to do this story that I'm thinking of, which may or may not happen, is that the reason why Cody did not win was because Triple H represents the WWE, and he is not going to allow an former AEW star who built up his competition to come in and be a main eventer and win their championship. Kind of similar to the old the faction that Triple H did with the McMahon Helmsley era kind of thing, where it's the authority and they're going to make sure that, oh, we're not going to put this guy over. We made all of our money at WrestleMania. You were there for merchandising. You were there to help sell tickets, but you're not going to win over our champion. And that makes sense. And then this would go back, way back, if they were smart. I went to the WWE Hall of Fame when they were at, they did it at the Barclays Center in downtown Brooklyn, New York. And this was the year AEW was formed. And this is when they were inducting the NWO into the Hall of Fame. And they had all the NWO guys go in. And I remember Triple H and the rest of the guys that were part of the clique. And I distinctly remember Triple H saying that Vince would buy AEW just so he could fire you guys. And I remember that being really, really low and really, really crass.
Talking to Billy Gunn and everything. I mean, you know,
exactly.
There was so many things in that. I mean, I remember when all the fans started chanting "Too Sweet," woo woo.
Yes.
It was like, guys, that's just so stupid. We didn't even want to go ahead. That is not cool. Just stop it. And of course, when we talked about don't go ahead and say Vince McMahon or he'll fire you. And Billy's like, well, he can't fire me. And Hunter's like,
I'm already going somewhere else. I don't even work here anymore.
Exactly. So and Billy just says, listen, Vince will go ahead and buy that pissant company just to fire you again.
Yes. And you go fast forward to 2023. And if the wrestling gods that are working the storyline, that have thrown this Brock hitch in the story, if that's the route that they're going to elongate the storyline between Cody and with Roman, then that makes perfect sense if that's what they planned on doing. Now, notice I prefaced it by saying if that's where they're going. But see, here's the problem with this. You've just basically turned a can't miss situation with Cody and that build that he had. He was on an invincible run, a great build. And in less than 48 hours to 72 hours, you've had him lose on the main event of WrestleMania and then get punked by somebody who wasn't supposed to be there. And get even worse, look like he's an idiot because nobody came to help him. So then you potentially could have damaged Cody and what they're doing for him going forward. And that's the danger. But that's going to probably go into what we're going to discuss a little bit about what I think we're going to have a lot more I digresses on.
Oh, yes, most definitely. And with that marks the end of the first half of Saturday afternoon's main event. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and get right into the questions. Don't worry, Taekwon. We see you in the chat, man. We see you in the chat. You good, man. But when we come back, questions, and then from there, last topic, and then that special announcement. So stay tuned. Do not go anywhere. The second half of Saturday afternoon's main event is coming up next. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the second half of Saturday afternoon's main event. It is the phenomenal one here alongside Peeps Nate. We're going to go ahead and get right into the questions. First one comes from Doctor of Thugonomics, and he says this. What has to be the greatest thing during this past weekend that didn't have to do with the match? seeing Shane Taylor's quad. Point blank.
Yeah.
Let me stop. I have to say, anything that has to, well, I mean, it has to do with matches in a sense, not so much, but it kind of has to. Just seeing legends, man. You know, listen. You know, getting to see Trish Stratus from like, you know, a good like, you know, couple feet away, seeing her entrance, hearing Lita's entrance, seeing, you know, the likes of Snoop Dogg just in the middle of the ring, just trying to do a people's elbow for God's sakes. Getting to take a picture with Diamond Dallas Page. For God, peeps, listen.
Yes.
You know, and
you sent me a ton of pictures that you took, and I saw some of the pictures and some of the wrestlers you were able to see. Envy is without question one of the 7 deadly sins, but I would gladly take that sin, knowing that you got to be able to do that. And I mean, especially the picture you took with The Undertaker. I think that was,
I mean, for God's sakes, you know, yes. that surpasses it all. That literally surpasses it all. You know, that like I like that humbled me. That humbled me. Yes. I was like, wow, like, you know, this
and
is,
not in an Iron Sheik way either, okay?
Not even in a listen. It's not like it would humble me to the point where Taker would want to go ahead and turkey me, okay? For God's sake.
Okay, there you go.
You know, like Death to Hulk Hogan, that jabroni. You know, like
oh yes,
never. But yes, you know, I have to say that has to be, man. That has to be. Next question comes from Dead Man Walking. He says this: first time joining, was in my recommendations on YouTube. I like the show. My question is, if they are doing the 2012 Cena storyline with Cody, then why are most saying it will end at SummerSlam? First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you for joining. Thank you,
man, and we thank you that you like the show. To answer this question, I feel as if, like, would it really make sense if, like, you know, it really got pushed all the way to next year's WrestleMania? The fans want a quick payoff from this. As much as, like, I think they wouldn't mind waiting and want to see where the storyline goes, but if we really wait till next year, April, another 365 days, I don't think it would get that big of a payoff because people are already past that. Who knows what can happen in the next year? Look at this year. Because last year, after Cody had that injury, we're just like, okay, yeah, Cody's going to enter the Rumble, he's going to win it, and he's going to be the one to challenge Roman. In that span of time, Sami Zayn took over as that on-screen talent who we said, you know, he should be the one to dethrone Roman. And look how that turned out.
Yes.
People were literally pissed for 1 second because they thought, oh, really, they're going to go ahead and give it to Cody? Cody doesn't even have an established feud with Roman yet. Yet, Sami literally went ahead and did this at the Rumble. Sami should have that moment. And it's in his hometown of Montreal. It should happen. Anything can happen in 365 days. Which is why I feel as if it should happen at SummerSlam. At first, I really thought it was going to happen at WrestleMania. But if it happens at SummerSlam, I'm fine with that. Peeps, do you agree with me? Or do you have a...
You're 100% right. And the dynamic is the injury bug. We earlier, about an hour ago, talked about what happened, unfortunately, to Dante Martin and his tragic injury. Who's to say something like that doesn't happen to Roman or something like that doesn't happen to Cody in between here and there? And as you've heard me say before, a lot of wrestling fans have the attention span of a fruit bat, and they won't remember what they did last night, far less last year. And to expect a fan who has been invested in not just the Cody storyline, because that storyline has been going on since he got in the company last year's WrestleMania, as far as the build between him and Seth, because he's really only had 2 feuds. It's him and Seth, him and the Bloodline. And if you're going by that route, it's about a year. The Bloodline thing has been going on for well over 3 years. And I think the fans are looking for something along the lines of this almost 1,000-day championship reign has got to end at some point.
Oh, yeah,
and to expect everybody to wait until WrestleMania 40 in Philly for that to end, and we can't promise who's going to be the opponent. Everything has to be right. Everything has to fall in and slide in the right way, and then the right path has to be built to that show. And if you can craft it the right way and get the fans into it, then yeah, you can do that. But that's not a guarantee. And I think SummerSlam is, the payoff, because SummerSlam, much like Survivor Series, much like Money in the Bank, much like, or what was Money in the Bank, and much like the Royal Rumble, those major pay-per-views, the major PLEs that the WWE does. The thought process is, if it's not going to happen at WrestleMania, then it should happen at SummerSlam. And I think that's what I would do.
I mean, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
July, August, around that section, we're literally about only 3 months away. We can get there, guys. We can get there. We can get there. Don't worry. We're almost there. We're almost there. From there, we go ahead and we get into the next one. Now reading it, and I don't even want to go ahead and put this up here. Tombstone City Adams says this. Phenomenal one. Ain't no way you flew all the way to LA just to see Cody lose. Ha 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 ha.
Oh yeah.
The one day I choose to be a face, you guys want to turn me into a heel. You know what?
You're a hero long enough to see you become the villain, if you want to quote Batman. If you want to do that, then that's literally what just happened in one statement.
You either die a hero or you live to see yourself become the villain. Looks like I'm living to see myself become the villain. Why, thank you, Tombstone City Adam.
Here comes the heel turn. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know okay. Let me not. Next one comes from Long Island Isaiah. He says the IC title match was just flat out amazing. It stole night 2 in my eyes.
Oh, to me, it stole WrestleMania as far as I'm concerned. That is still, for me, as I stated earlier, that was my match the entire card. And there were a lot of amazing matches. There were matches that give you drama. There were matches that give you athleticism. This was my Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage. As anybody that I've explained this over since last year when we talked about WrestleMania last year. My 3 criteria for WrestleMania. First of all, I usually compare WrestleMania to WrestleMania 3, but I compare the fan interaction, attendance, audience setting. I also go into what the main event is, and then the match that is going to steal the show. And that triple threat match did all of the above.
Listen, as much as it was, you could tell that it was going to go ahead and steal the show. I mean, yes. We said this going into it. This is what we like about things like this. When it comes to wrestling, that's just what it is. That's really just what it is. Oh, man. Here's what the Phenom ties in. He's like, I hope he posts something. His face was great after Cody lost. You guys really, peeps, you want to see this? If you want to see this, because it seems like if he points it out, jeez, you know what? I hate you guys. Oh, Lord of mercy. Oh, man.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? There we go, guys. There we go. You guys are happy now? You guys are happy? Are you happy now? Are you intrigued? Let me know. Are you intrigued?
Yes. That was the picture that I saw when the night was over. And I stared at that picture for like 30 seconds. And then I sat back and I was like, how would my 10-year-old self react in a live WrestleMania? And the expected ending that I thought was going to be the ending wasn't. That is the embodiment of the reaction that I would have. This is the young girl that watched Edge do what she did. That's the reaction of the fan at WrestleMania when The Undertaker lost. That's the reaction. That is the embodiment of the disappointed fan, the shocked fan, the pissed off fan, the fan that saw what they saw and couldn't believe what they just saw. That's the Booker T. I can't believe you just said that. Oh, I can't believe you just saw that.
I can't believe he just exactly. Listen, my uncle even has a much more better version of him smiling while I'm still in disbelief. I gotta go ahead and find that one to show it to you. But for some reason, that wasn't the only one he caught. Because, of course, finally I started smiling after too. Because I was just like, you know what? Okay. But it wasn't really smiling. You know what this was? This was, I can't believe this really just happened in front of me. I done paid in the words of Titus O'Neil. Millions of dollars. Millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. Exactly.
I told Vincent Kennedy McMahon about a year ago, just shut up and take my money. Because I said to myself, Cody was walking out champion. And instead,
Yes.
I ain't get that. So it was just like, okay, this is what we have to deal with. This is really what we have to deal with. Peeps. Never again. Let me stop.
Yes.
Let me stop. One will come around and I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll just shut up and take my money again. But
Yeah.
peeps, yeah, my face says it all. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I guess this one's worth
yeah.
more than 2,000.
Oh yeah.
Ah man.
I think the words of this picture are on the back of the 800-pound gorilla. wearing an I Digress t-shirt. That's exactly what he's doing.
Exactly, peeps. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. Jeez. Okay, but from there, guys, this marks the end of the questions. Guys, you already know. If you want to go ahead and send in the question, there's only one thing that you have to do. Peeps, you can go ahead and pull your Vanna White impression. Look, just go to IG at Saturday Afternoons _main event. DM us a question and we'll be featured on the next episode of the show. Thank you very much, guys. So, with that being said, final topic of today's show. Peeps, how do we do this? How do we bring this in? What's a Saturday afternoon main event-esque way of bringing this topic in? You know what? I got the perfect idea. I got the perfect idea. We'll just use an image. How about that? Does that work for you, peeps?
Oh, yes. Go on ahead.
No problem. Okay. So here is the image that we are going to be using today, ladies and gentlemen. Peeps, I know you want to laugh. Just let it out, man. Just let it out. Just let it out. Just let it out.
Vicente El Señor Loco. That's what I will call him. Yes.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon with Chinese begin hair dye and a good mausoleo stash.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the one thing that we said would not happen actually ended up happening. WWE sold the company to Saudi Arabia. Let me stop. I'm just.
What's the bright idea?
Listen, if that was the case, I wouldn't be talking about this on today's show. Because if I were to, later today, my house would have gotten nuked by some type of Saudi. Listen, I'm good.
Yes.
I'm good.
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to get nuked by ISIS. Listen, I'm all right because I would have went on a rant, and somehow Muhammad Hassan's old goons that actually beat up the Undertaker back in 05.
Oh boy. Oh yeah.
It would not be pretty. So
yeah, you'll hear from UPN's lawyers from that. Oh wait a minute, they don't even exist anymore, do they? Oh, I digress. Oh, there we go.
Third one of the day. There we go.
Yes.
So guys,
we're up to 30 for the year. Oh, we're moving today.
Man, we're moving. We are moving. So look, I woke up Monday morning. It is about close to 7 o'clock Los Angeles time, so 10 o'clock for you guys in the East Coast. And I look at my phone, and I see I missed a text message from Peeps. Open up the messages. First thing I see, WWE merges with UFC, sold to Endeavor, now worth $9.3 billion. I say to myself, I just had the greatest 3 nights in Los Angeles ever. Got to see legends, got to witness a enormous WrestleMania, got to be a part of an elite attendance record. And it still didn't feel real to me to know that I was even in LA. But then I noticed that this happened and I was just like, okay, now I'm really in a dream. I have to continue to pinch myself. That whole time, I won't lie to you. I wake up, do what I have to do, come back out, and see my uncle. I'm like, Unc, WWE and UFC are merged. Sold to Endeavor. Check your phone. I think Peep sent you the same message because ain't no way he just sent it to me. He's like, wait, what? Checks his phone, sees it. He's like, oh gosh, I did miss the text from him. Wow. Listen. And the minute I go on social media, I have friends that don't even watch wrestling posting about it. And I
Yes.
say to myself, wow, this really happened. And then when the minute I go on YouTube, I see the old clip of MSNBC from that early morning where Vince is actually talking to, the anchors and then, Ari Emanuel, the owner of Endeavor, right next to him. And I'm just like, okay, but what's going on here? What is Vince going to be doing? And the minute that question got asked, and I hear Vince say, oh, I'm going to be assuming my role as executive chairman.
Yep. Turn out the lights. The party's over. That's exactly what happened.
And then I won't forget it. I said to myself, I was like, I'm at the one and only WrestleMania that will ever be under the McMahon regime. That I was like, okay, you know what? I won. Because to think I was at a WrestleMania that wasn't booked by by Vince McMahon and booked by Triple H, and I had a good 8 months of storylines. I said, okay, you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm fine. Although the one thing that pissed me off that weekend was that I got an LA WrestleMania without LA Knight.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
But this, peeps, this is grand. To think that we're going back into a section now where this is going to be happening and he's back as chairman. And then fast forward a couple of hours later, I get home an hour before Raw. Get home, wash the LA COVIDness off me, and I'm feeling better. Get right into the family room and I turn on the TV. And I watched Raw for 3 hours thinking that this Raw after WrestleMania was going to be amazing. And what did I get, peeps? Scat. That's what I got. Yes, you did.
Yes.
And what is the abbreviation for that again, peeps?
It's strife, chaos, angst, and turmoil. You got a whole toilet full of scat. And that's exactly what you got.
Exactly. Peeps. And then comes out the report that Vince McMahon was the one running Raw. Kill me now.
Yes.
Kill me now. Peeps.
Yes.
What is your reaction to all of this and what do you see going forward?
For long-time viewers of our esteemed show, anytime that they see me stroking my goatee, that means I've got a serious rant boiling in. And it's almost simmered to the surface. But I'm going to try to keep this as low-key as possible.
No. Rant.
Okay.
You've been away for 2 weeks. Rant.
Yes. Okay. Me warm the hands up. What the hell was WWE thinking? First and foremost, there are a couple of things that I have to do that are connected to this. And this connects to WrestleMania going in. First and foremost, we talked about how there were wrestlers that were not on the card that should have been. One of the people, I'm going to name a couple of names and throw them out there and see where that happens. What the WWE has done recently with the building of the women's division has been kind of, sort of, in the middle. They haven't done a great job building the women's division, but at least it was something. And particular what they've done with Damage Control. And what they need now is Damage Control to fix Damage Control. Because 8 months ago, when this faction was built at SummerSlam, when they came in and showed that who they are, and we're going to see an actual faction, this was going to be something that's different and has a little bit of teeth that can actually do something. And the first thing that they did is put the tag team belts on Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Tag belts make sense. The next logical evolution is to put one of those women's championships on Bayley. Never happened. Of course, Kai and Sky lost the belts. Really didn't do much since. And literally ever since then, they've been beaten. The match at WrestleMania, of course they were beaten. They're not losing to Lita and Becky Lynch, and they're not going to lose also to Trish Stratus. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, that's part one. You have no Bray Wyatt for whatever reason. Either he was hurt or indifferent, whatever is the case, he's not on the card. So, of course, we have another person that's not on the card, which is Bobby Lashley, who was Friday in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which he won. Okay, figuring we've got this mass of human being who has no match for WrestleMania because obviously there's no Bray Wyatt who we were supposed to face. We'll put him to the side and we go to WrestleMania and we'll figure we're going to get him L.A. Knight. Yeah. Why? Because L.A. Knight isn't on the card. And you know what? They brought out Bobby Lashley on night 2 of WrestleMania. And what does he do? He has a date with his trophy. And that's literally all he did was bring the trophy out on the stage, fist pump with the fans, and then they go to a commercial. Seth freaking Rollins, who, after having the amazing WrestleMania that he had in his match with Logan Paul, shows up on Raw. He has an interview in the locker room, and then we're going to show him walk to the ring. They play his music. He sings with the fans. They go to a commercial. They come back from the commercial, and Rollins is gone. Oh, boy. Monday Night Raw, a 3-hour show. The show that's supposed to be the A show of the WWE's programming block between them and SmackDown and NXT. For a 3-hour show, they got 30 minutes of wrestling throughout the entire card. And they got the first match in an hour, almost an hour later. And you know how long that match was? 30 some odd, was it 92 seconds. And that was a match that almost had with Joe Blow, whoever. If we're going to go back to the way that Raw and SmackDown were under the McMahon regime, which was long-winded, bloviating interviews that people are talking in all overly verbose and keep talking the same stuff with no progression, no in-ring wrestling, for a 3-hour show, you are going to get a lot of blowback. You know why? Because over the last 9 months, we have been spoiled by having great in-ring action, great matches. The undercard is developed. The main event card is developed. The storylines made sense, and they connected to the other wrestlers that were there, which led into watch next week or watch SmackDown. Maybe one of the people from Raw might spill into SmackDown. Maybe someone from SmackDown might spill into Raw. Maybe somebody from Raw SmackDown may spill into NXT. And you know what that did? That got the fans up because they wanted to see what was going to happen. Triple H did a great job in connecting the storylines to make them relevant and logical. And then he was outside the box with building a lot of the Bray Wyatt stuff by having the QR code things and having, oh, you don't know what's going on. Somebody, a wrestler is getting interviewed in the back. And what happens? This person is having a fight in the background that is completely innocuous to everyone else, but it is pertinent to later on in the show, which makes sense. Those kinds of things happen under Triple H. Vince McMahon has been and always will be about what entertains Vince McMahon, which is the old plotting, talk, big men match, squashes, and then if there's a storyline that he cares about, then he will build it out. And it showed because they built this and ripped it apart in under 72 hours. And the fans at Raw were vocal, V-O-C-A-L, vocal. There were chants of fire Vince during the show, especially during the Cody Rhodes beatdown and the Omos match, if you want to call that a match, and then all of the other things that were going on. And then the Seth Rollins and what he didn't do. The fans do not want or deserve this.
Peeps,
And if
just
we're
before you say
going
anything,
under,
just
yeah,
before you say anything, Hot Rod is saying this. Hot Rod is saying this. Peeps, don't pop a vein. Don't pop a vein. Please do not pop a vein. We know how you're feeling right now. Do not pop a
yes,
vein. Do not pop
I,
a vein.
I have to vocalize what a lot of people are thinking. And the mindset, I think, is this. We have seen an evolution of the wrestling audience in the span of a year. The reason why AEW exists is because of one thing, and that is Vince McMahon's need for his greed. He only thought about what was going on during the pandemic era by, at one point, hoarding a lot of talent to these long-term deals so that they wouldn't go to the competition that he swore wasn't competition. And then eventually, when those became too much money to hold on to, I'm only going to use a certain number of these toys. I'll throw some of these toys out and you guys can use them. And AEW, for what is it, right, wrong, or indifferent, they used a lot of the wrestlers that were there, not to their full potential, but they used them. And it worked because for a while, WWE was getting their butts kicked by AEW. Not only just ratings wise, but just in the mind share of the fan watching online through Twitter and all of the other social media. They were telling the WWE, your product is stale. And what AEW, and I've said this before, and what they should continue to do is do everything that's the complete antithesis of what the WWE does. Vince running things was why people ran away from the WWE and went to AEW, and AEW benefited. AEW has been in this general malaise over the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 months, where they can't get out of their own way. They've had CM Punk, which was probably the biggest signing in the history of the company, and that kind of fell in their face after the stuff that happened with the brawl out press conference, media scrum, if you will. And then you also now have what Vince is doing as he is now running creative on Raw. And if that was any indication of what everybody is going to look forward to, oh boy. Now, I'll give you this caveat. Vince was probably there to run Raw because he was already in LA for WrestleMania, and the show the next day was in Los Angeles. If that's the case, okay, fine. But we have the effect of what a Vince McMahon run WWE has. And there were, I believe, 17 or 18 wrestlers that Vince McMahon had cut that Triple H brought back and used for the most part in a much more positive way than Vince ever could.
Of course.
And now you have that chance, that risk of guys saying, if Vince is going to be running this company like this, the way he did with creative, I want no part of it. And the reason why I say that is we already had 2 wrestlers ask for their release.
Yep.
The 2 guys in NXT that were part of the schism that were originally known as the Grizzled Young Veterans, they put in for their release a request, but I believe it was denied. So you've got that. But you're going to probably hear a lot more people talking about that. And because of the merger, you're going to hear of people getting fired and let go anyway, because that's just the way the business world works. If you have Endeavor, the parent company, I can't believe I'm saying this, the parent company of WWE and UFC, and they're going to, as we all know in certain business realms, is that they're going to consolidate and they're going to combine certain aspects on the business side, advertising, merchandising, et cetera, to come up with one kind of fluid program, place where they're going to do their business. The best will stay, and then a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But that's not where it's going to stop. They're going to continue with a lot of people being cut, because usually that's what happens. Here's something else that I'm going to bring up that we didn't get, because of usually around this time is what we would normally get. Where were the call-ups? I didn't see a Braun Breaker call-up. I didn't see a Carmelo Hayes call-up, which I thought was going to happen, but I'm happy that he won the NXT championship. We saw that. I didn't see any other tag teams or any other players, anybody else come in and be called up to the main roster like they usually do after WrestleMania. It's usually one or two people on SmackDown and on Raw. If Raw was what we got, SmackDown was much better because that felt like a Triple H booked show.
Of course.
But if we're going to see the difference between Vince McMahon and Triple H, it's going to be a long, long time that we're going to be back. And remember, even the tone of our show changed when WWE got better. AEW had done some really good things, even though we were also still highly critical of a lot of the things that AEW has done and still does. It was much more positive than what the WWE was doing. Triple H reminded everybody that even though we don't have all the talent, we still have great talent. We just have to use them right. Vince doesn't know what he's doing with that same talent, unless their last name is I know why. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to get too long-winded because we'll be here until 5 p.m. So I'm going to give this one to my partner.
You're good, Beefs. You're good. Yeah, I mean,
your thought process. Because I had to go in, and if this is the nightmare scenario that everybody was praying would not happen, and it has happened, the WWE is going to have some issues because the next thing that they're going to be going for is, as I said before, roster cuts.
Yep.
That's something that nobody likes.
And this is where I'm going to leave it. The draft is in a couple of weeks. Roster cuts usually happen around April 15th. It's April 8th today. If come April 15th, I hear some familiar names being released, going different places, if I hear, somebody taking over creative or somebody ending up leaving, or assuming another role, if I hear something about any person out of the creative team getting fired, I'm going to lose my ish. We
already had one person that worked in the WWE for over 25 years that kind of was an ally to Triple H as he was building on with Raw and building NXT. He's gone. That should be an indicator that, wow, Triple H lost a huge ally. Exactly.
So peeps, look, come the 15th, if we have to go on the air within the next week and talk about budget cuts, and of course, this always happens during the sale of a company, especially a huge sale like this, you're always going to have budget cuts.
Yes.
Peeps, I kid you not, if I hear any familiar name, I am losing it on the next episode.
So you're going to be much more reserved and low-keyed until next week.
Until next week. I'll say
so. I did the rant this week. If things happen the way we think may happen, you'll have the rant next week.
We're gonna be here till next week after next week. That's how long I'm taking. Don't even worry about it.
Gotcha.
But from there, that marks the end of Saturday afternoon's main event. And of course, the one thing that you guys are in here for, since I did say it on, social media and on Instagram, have a special announcement. I really do have a special announcement. I'll say it like this. Same has been an iteration for years now, First started back in the 90s, of course, during, Peeps Nature's time in the dawn of the dinosaurs.
Yes.
And Peeps and two of his other friends, who I am very dear to, of course, Mr. 411, and of course, the Triple C. I went ahead, took that, and formed it into something of my own, and I tried my hardest to carry it through for the longest time. And, little by little, I tried to deem to take it in new heights. And of course, right now you're hearing this, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Is he leaving?
Yeah. It's nothing bad, okay? So you can relax.
Guys, nothing bad. If anything, as I said on Instagram, this changes the fate of Saturday afternoon's main event, but in a good way, because look at it this way. When WCW was going out of business and you heard that WCW was sold, people said, okay, it's sold, and Vince McMahon bought it. But of course, like Shane did, listen, the contract does read McMahon, but it says Shane McMahon. Think of it this way, guys. This is the end of one chapter to Saturday afternoon's main event. But the story never ends. And the reason why is because of this. So drum roll, please, Mr. Peepsnake.
Bing!
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the Phenomenal One and the Peepsnake, hosts of Saturday afternoon's main event. Now, to not only be featured on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, but to also go on WGNDFL Grind 101 FM later this month.
Yes. We are bringing I Digress to the masses.
We are now going to be hitting I Digresses on FCC Airways.
Yes.
Peeps, we've come a long way, my friend. We have come a long, long way.
Yes.
Guys, this all wouldn't be possible without you.
Thank you.
The listeners, peeps, you, my friend, you've given so much in the past year and a half of you being on the show that, listen, we've literally done so many different things, from going ahead and, putting in fast track and adding I Digress counts to the point where now even the fans are keeping up. I mean, for God's sakes, we have done so many different things that now this is literally happening. And I am so stoked. This is just amazing. Peeps, I thank you, my friend. I thank you.
No problem.
And to the fans, a heartfelt thank you to you guys, the listeners. I remember just when 2 years back at the Royal Rumble in St. Louis, when I, went ahead and jumped through the forbidden door of copywriting, and Peeps was like, "Rich, don't do it." And I said to myself, you gotta take the chance sometimes. And of course, yes, we did get one little strike, and I told myself we weren't gonna do it again. But that paid off excessively, because that's how we went ahead and came to form a following of you guys listening to our show on a weekly basis. Yes. I can't thank you guys enough, because you guys literally make Same into what it is every Saturday at noon. So with that being said, this officially marks the end to episode 12 of Saturday afternoon's main event. We will be back next week for episode 13. Yes. And we will be coming up swinging, because I kid you not, Peeps, if Vince goes ahead and cuts Karrion Kross or, Dominic Mysterio out of all sorts of something, if it's something to that extent, Peeps, I am losing it. Yes. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We will see you guys next week. And it is with that I leave you with this, that on this episode of Saturday afternoon's main event, I, the Phenomenal One,
and I, the Peepsnake, just remember, we came,
we saw,
and in the words of the wise man Paul Heyman, we conquered.
We conquered, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week for episode 13. It is the Phenomenal One and the Peepsnake. Now just going ahead and hitting one more marker of the dummy, to Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Peace, love, farewell.